Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon came out in May, and my review for this game was pretty positive.
What? How dare you?
The general reception for this game was pretty positive as well, judging from all the reviews on Steam and Metacritic. This game got some huge updates since it first released, which is always great to see. Well, now it's the time for the biggest update yet.
Well, look what crawled into this filthy hole with me.
Sanctuary of Sarras is a paid expansion for The Fall of Avalon, and it costs $15. Yes, it's a full-blown expansion and not just a small DLC.
And, well, you can see how that turned out.
The content in this expansion is unlike anything you're going to experience in the base game. Sanctuary of Sarras features a small but dense open world map, which is divided in multiple smaller areas. There is a brand new main quest, new characters, side quests, new gameplay features, boss fights, and a ton of new items, and so on. It took me around 10 hours to complete this expansion, but I'm pretty sure I could get at least a few more hours if I decided to do absolutely everything. I didn't complete all side quests, and I probably missed a dungeon or two, but that's about it. So we're going to talk about all major features of this expansion, and I'm going to tell you about my experience in general. Is it worth the price of $15? Let's find out. In order to begin this new quest line, you'll need to talk with this NPC while using a campfire. Then you get the quest to visit a mysterious chapel in Kunakts, which is the zone from the second chapter. Unfortunately, I could not use my old save file, probably because I kept switching between beta branches and the live version of the game. I also didn't have the cloud save enabled for this game for whatever reason. That was kind of sad because I loved that character and I invested a lot of hours into that save file. So I had to use the save file from the developers that would instantly allow me to jump into the expansion zone. This was a level 35 character with some predetermined gear. If I remember correctly, my character was pretty close to that level or even higher. Although that doesn't matter a lot because all enemies in this expansion zone are going to scale to your level. The balancing felt a little bit all over the place, but we'll talk about that soon enough. I played on the second hardest difficulty and my build could be described as a glass canyon. But before we start talking about the gameplay, I really want to talk about the visuals and the story first. The visuals in this expansion are freaking amazing. I was mesmerized with all the activity that's happening on the screen, and this continued throughout my whole playthrough of the expansion. I had some praise for the visuals in the base game as well, but this is something entirely different. Literally every single area, dungeon, indoor place, characters and everything else has such interesting visuals. The small nature of this map works in favor of the visuals. If the map was bigger and more open, they would have to stretch these cool backgrounds and assets. You certainly won't be able to see them around every corner. It's not like the base game didn't have these cool moments, but the expansion also has a different artistic style in general. Sanctuary of Sarras is inspired by cosmic horror from the Lovecraftian universe, which is very obvious.
Just be careful, child of the surface.
Speaking of horror, the expansion definitely has some of those vibes, just like the base game. It creates an unsettling feeling while exploring this zone, but in the best way possible. I love the character design in this expansion. Pretty much all of these main story characters have a unique visual design. Common NPCs also have a decent visual variety, but some of them look almost exactly the same, which makes sense because all of them are just fish people.
Have you finally come to me?
If you look closely, you'll see that most of these characters move their gills when talking, which is like lip syncing. And that's such a cool little detail, they didn't even need to do that. Overall, I was really impressed with the visuals in this expansion. Now let's talk about the story. After you reach the passage to the sanctuary, the intro cuts in place and it introduces the main story. It's a lesser known story about some rebels who were against King Arthur. Nimue, a disciple of Merlin, was shaken by the horrors of war and she wanted to go back to the homeland, even if that meant defying the king. The rebels then gathered a couple of Arthur's ships, including the flagship called Sarras. Merlin and Arthur labeled them as deserters, and Merlin casted a powerful spell that sank all the ships. That's the official story of this event, but you're going to discover the real truth while doing the main quest. And that's the general gist of the main story, but of course it's a lot deeper than that. Pun intended.
Who cares?
You're going to meet some pretty cool characters in this expansion.
No idle chit-chat.
The main quest starts off really simple actually, with a basic fetch/kill quest. You need to retrieve a certain item called Carnix from a thief and come back to Josephus. When you bring this item back to Josephus, you play the first part of Melody of the Deep, which essentially starts the awakening of this zone. Josephus tells you that Nimue wants to talk with you, the lady who was responsible for the rebellion. But in order to get to her, you'll need to do a series of quests, which will complete the Melody of the Deep. And only the ex-captain of one of the ships knows her exact location.
A shitty bloody perspective, but a perspective nonetheless.
Josephus needs the help from a couple of his old friends, who will also give you some important quests to do. You'll start learning the background of the main characters that were on the ship, with some interesting sequences from their past. These are not just cutscenes, you actually get to play through the sequences as those characters. This will give you the necessary context behind the story, but before that you'll need to solve some problems for other characters on Sarras. There is a decent plot twist, which I obviously won't spoil, but I think it's well done in general. On a side note, the moment I noticed the unique items on these characters you get to play, I knew we'll have the option to get them later on, and I was right. That's pretty damn cool, and I love these small RPG features. As for the side quests and side characters, there are some very memorable moments in this expansion.
Hush you, crustacean! I told you already! If you're scared, you can leave!
Most of these people, or fish I guess, are surprised to see someone from the surface, which usually leads to some great interactions. Humor is also a part of it, and you'll meet characters with funny quests and dialogue. For example, these guys are trying to save a princess from a cave, and they have no idea how to do it. They have some very goofy dialogue.
Of course I know. To marry someone is to give yourself into the eternal service of the one who rescued you. For the princess said to the knight, "You saved my life, therefore I shall marry you." So it means she incurred a life debt and must repay it with her existence.
Really? That's what it means? But what will I do with a princess?
But it's not just about the dialogue, you can get various outcomes of these quests, along with unique rewards depending on which options you choose. Or how about this fish that thinks you're his dad? What?
Oh, you must be very special. Are you my daddy?
I mean, your quest was to kill his mom, but still. Yeah, that sounds horrible without more context, but let's not spoil it. What's even better is how deep some of these quests are. Even this silly little quest can be expanded when you go back to the quest giver. You can basically force this dude to adopt the kid because it was his idea to kill his mom anyway. And he also starts joking about eating the kid. What the hell?
My child won't be stupid. Never threaten to eat him easy.
So yeah, the majority of quests you're going to do in this expansion will have some proper choices and consequences. Up to the point where the side quests actually affect the outcome of the main quest as well, which took me by surprise. I tried to play around with this dialogue and gameplay choices, and I also reloaded a previous save more than a couple of times, just to see what's going to happen if I select another option or I just choose to do something different gameplay wise. For example, this quest where you need to retrieve a pearl will lead you to the cave with 3 mermaids, and you basically have 3 different ways to solve a single quest. You can just do what they tell you, kill the beast in the cave and get the pearl. Or you can just kill them, get the pearl and get out, or do what I did. I told them I will help them with the beast that is harassing them, only to decide to kill them after the dialogue, and get the pearl from their bodies, and even kill the beast just for fun. These kinds of RPG options are one of the reasons why I love RPGs in general. You'll find more quests like this, and even the main quest has some hard-hitting choices you have to make, literally. I'll try not to spoil anything of course, but just keep in mind that the game has a couple of different endings. The main quest in the expansion, I mean. And each ending will have a different boss fight and unique items to get. Side characters are almost equally interesting and they get to play a role in the story as well. How about this wall of creepy eyes that will judge you? And again, literally judge you, which will make more sense when you get to play the game.
Have you come for judgment, Toplanders?
Yeah, I don't know what I expected from the story in the expansion, but I certainly didn't expect it to be this enjoyable.
Your assumption is accurate.
Mostly from the RPG side of things, but even by itself, the main story ended up being pretty good. It has more than a few memorable characters and it was pretty enjoyable overall. I love how different it is compared to the story from the base game. Now let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay was definitely not left behind in the new expansion. While the core experience remains the same, the expansion brings out some brand new features which can heavily affect your build. The biggest gameplay feature is a brand new line of progression you get. You will find these special shrines which will unlock a new line of progression within your skill tree. Actually, it's a separate skill tree with 3 different options for melee, ranged and magic. What's so unique about this new skill tree is that you get to invest points into all 3 classes at the same time. So there's no need to spend a lot of time thinking where to invest points because you get points for all 3 classes simultaneously. So what's the catch here, you may ask? Well, you get to switch between these 3 classes with a press of a button even in the middle of the combats. So technically there is only one skill tree active at the same time, even though you have points in all of them. It's a very flexible system that will complement the build you already had or even create a secondary build which will get enhanced by the new skill tree. In theory at least, I didn't try to do that because I just focused on using the new rogue skill tree which made my dual wielding stealthy build even more effective. As I mentioned before, I was basically running a glass canyon build. I had some insane damage output with the swords, but I could also die very fast on this difficulty, which I did quite a bit. And that wouldn't be so bad if most of my deaths came from boss fights or stronger enemies in general. Instead, I was getting killed so many times by some very weak and annoying enemies. These little f***s are probably the worst part of this expansion, I swear. They have annoying attacks which are hard to predict because of the stupid animation. Other smaller enemies are perfectly fine and they have pretty good animations actually. But these little things made me mad so many times and you'll have to fight them very often. Since the map is smaller in general, it's also very hard to just run past them. Then we have the boss fights, which are pretty good in this expansion. Pretty much all of them have at least 3 or more unique mechanics, but I was able to kill them very fast in general. So I probably didn't even get to see all of their unique mechanics. I mentioned that I played on the second hardest difficulty, so maybe they are much harder on the hardest difficulty. The variety of their attacks is decent, even though most of them work in a similar manner. Although I expected some bigger and a bit more creative attacks from at least some of these bosses. Some of them have something similar, I guess, with a couple of gimmicks here and there. I just wish I played on the hardest difficulty now so I could experience all of their mechanics before I just get to kill them very fast. I highly doubt I would struggle with my own character that I lost, because he was hitting like a truck with a 2-handed weapon. That was also the reason why I wanted to try something different with this character, and I really enjoyed playing a stealthy dual-wielding rogue. I think they mentioned somewhere the expansion has 4 boss fights in total, but I'm pretty sure I fought a lot more than that. And like I said before, there are more than a few optional boss fights, depending on your choices. I also mentioned before that I think the balancing is a little bit all over the place. And I just tried to explain why, because other basic enemies you get to fight can kill you very fast, much faster than bosses sometimes. Your build obviously plays a major role in this, as well as the difficulty and the scaling. Yeah, I think the level scaling in this expansion only makes this worse, but I also know why they decided to do this. You can start the expansion as soon as you reach the second zone and do the main quest for it. Or you can simply use a high level character. If they didn't include the level scaling in the zone, it would either be very easy for high level characters or very hard for low level characters. The base game has no level scaling, by the way. So I guess the level scaling in this expansion was the necessary evil.
Yes, I'm so terrified, I feel like I'm about to die.
There are some optional challenges in the game where you can fight elite enemies. I didn't skip any of these shrines, and it's always some kind of elite NPC, which is like a mini boss fight. I also confirmed that we can use the new skill tree outside of the DLC zone, but I'm not sure if we can find more shrines in the base game. When you're done with the main quest and the expansion, you won't be able to go back, by the way. A lot of new skills within the skill tree, as well as the new items, have new effects. It's mostly about the new wet effect, which have some great synergy with the new skills in the skill tree. Now, I'm not sure how useful some of these new items are outside of the expansion zone. Even if some of these items are not that useful outside of the zone, you will still find great armors and weapons, especially if you explore everything. And speaking of finding stuff, let's talk about the exploration a little bit. While the zones in this new area are much smaller, you still have a very decent amount of freedom. The exploration is very different compared to the base game, and in the best way possible, I would say. I loved how open the maps are in the base game, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But Sanctuary of Sarras breaks the monotony of big open world maps with small but dense areas. Although I think they could have made them even denser and more vertical. Still though, I was enjoying exploring all of these areas. There are roughly 4 or 5 different smaller zones which are separated by a fast traveling system. Not with the most basic fast travel system though, you'll have to do some small tasks for the weird fish that's guarding the entrance.
Insult me for a change!
I thought this was pretty cool, even though some of them are a little bit boring with the questions they ask. All of these areas have something interesting to see and do. Side quests are unique for each area, and some of them will require you to explore other areas in order to complete them. There is a fair amount of dungeons and caves to explore, and I was really impressed with the visual variety. I know I talked about this before in the visual section, but I just can't stress this enough. Another small new feature in the expansion is the sickle tool you get for entering some special areas. You get this sickle as a weapon, and it needs to be charged by bursting these bubbles you find on the map. When you stumble upon the shiny barrier on some areas, it can only be broken with this item as long as you have the charge. I thought this is going to play a much bigger role in the expansion, but it just ended up being used for some optional loot most of the time. It seems to me like they had bigger plans for this feature, and it just ended up being a little bit undercooked. Still though, you'll find plenty of these smaller areas you can get into, usually for some extra loot. Charging the item was never a problem for me, since you'll get these bubbles everywhere on the map. By the way, you can't use a horse to explore the new zone. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, because these little areas are way smaller compared to the vast open world of the base game. Overall, there is a decent amount of cool things to see in the expansion.
Everyone is ready to play, thanks to you.
So yeah, I loved the exploration in the new expansion, and it just left me wanting more. Sanctuary of Sarras has definitely exceeded my expectations. It's been a while since I last played the game, so this is a great reason to jump back in. I think you're going to love it, especially if you already love the base game. I also think that $15 is a steal for this amount of new content.
A shitty bloody perspective, but a perspective nonetheless.
Anyway guys, tell me your opinion about this expansion in the comments below. Do you plan to check it out, or you're going to skip it? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to go a step further, consider supporting your boy by becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon. Huge thanks to all my current supporters, and I'll see ya in the next one.